Writing. The first punch never landed. The second never landed either. But when the arrogant woman raised her fist for the third time, the entire outdoor crowd suddenly went silent, because the black single father standing across from her had stopped looking like a tired man trying to survive and started looking like someone who had spent years learning exactly how to survive anything. What nobody in that crowded daytime park knew was that the quiet father holding his little daughter's hand had once served as a Navy SEAL, and the woman who had challenged him for easy money was about to discover that confidence and arrogance were two very different things. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change lives and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to life. The afternoon sun was bright over Riverside Community Park, where families had gathered around a charity martial arts event. At the center stood a temporary fighting mat surrounded by folding chairs, food trucks, children running through the grass, and local athletes demonstrating their skills. Among them was a woman named Zariah Vale, a celebrated black belt known for winning regional tournaments and attracting crowds wherever she went. She was talented, disciplined, and physically powerful, but fame had slowly turned her confidence into something sharper. She had begun believing that anyone who looked ordinary must also be weak. That afternoon, she announced that she would give $500 to anyone who could last 3 minutes against her. Several young men laughed nervously and stepped away. Zariah wanted a spectacle, not a serious opponent. Then she noticed Kellen Brooks. Kellen was standing near a picnic table with his 7-year-old daughter, Amara, sharing a bottle of water and a small sandwich they had brought from home. His clothes were simple, his shoes were worn, and his face carried the exhaustion of a father who had spent years putting his child before himself. Since losing his wife after a sudden illness, Kellen had worked 2 jobs while raising Amara alone. He had turned down countless opportunities to chase his own dreams because his daughter's school fees, food, rent, and medicine always came first. Nobody looking at him would have guessed that beneath the faded jacket was a man who had once served in some of the world's most dangerous places. Zariah smiled when she saw him. She pointed toward the mat and jokingly asked whether he wanted to earn some easy money. The crowd chuckled. Kellen politely shook his head and told her he was only there to watch his daughter enjoy the afternoon. But Zariah kept pushing. She suggested that perhaps he was afraid. A few people laughed again, and Kellen looked down at Amara, who was watching everything with worried eyes. He knew exactly what humiliation felt like, and he did not want his daughter learning that strength meant proving yourself to strangers. But then Zariah made a cruel comment about him being just another broke father who could use the money. Something changed in Kellen's expression. Not anger. Not hatred. Just a quiet sadness. He looked at Amara and told her that sometimes walking away was the strongest thing a person could do. But when Zariah doubled the offer to $1,000 and the crowd began chanting for the challenge, Kellen finally stepped onto the mat. The atmosphere changed instantly. Zariah expected nervousness. Instead, Kellen stood perfectly still. His shoulders were relaxed. His breathing was controlled. His eyes followed every movement around him without appearing to move at all. Zariah threw the first controlled strike. Kellen stepped aside. She attacked again. He shifted backward. A third move came faster, but somehow he was already gone from the spot where she expected him to be. The crowd grew quiet. Zariah's confidence began to disappear. She attacked with more speed, trying to overwhelm him, but Kellen never struck back. He simply moved. Every step was precise. Every turn seemed effortless. He was not fighting her. He was studying her. The way she placed her feet. The rhythm of her breathing. The slight movement of her shoulder before each attack. Amara watched from the edge of the mat, holding her hands together. She knew her father as the man who packed her lunch, helped with homework, and checked beneath her bed when she was scared. She had never seen this side of him. With less than a minute remaining, Zaraya became frustrated. She rushed forward with everything she had. Kellen caught her wrist, redirected her momentum, and gently guided her to the mat without hurting her. The entire crowd gasped. He immediately released her hand and stepped backward. There was no celebration on his face. No smile. No insult. He simply offered her a hand. Zaraya stared at it. For the first time that afternoon, she looked embarrassed. But Kellen did not laugh. He helped her stand and quietly told her that she was talented, but she did not need to prove her worth by making other people feel small. Then a former military officer standing near the crowd suddenly recognized the posture, movement, and calm precision. He asked Kellen if he had served. Kellen hesitated before answering that he had been a Navy SEAL. The crowd fell completely silent. Zaraya's face changed. She suddenly understood why his movements had been so different. But what shocked her most was not his military background. It was what happened next. Kellen walked back to Amara, picked up her backpack, and checked the time because she had a school project due the next morning. The man who had just defeated a skilled black belt without throwing a single damaging punch was more concerned about helping his daughter finish a cardboard model for school. Zaraya watched him leave and felt something she had not expected, shame. She approached him before he could leave the park. She apologized, not because she had lost, but because she had judged him without knowing his story. Kellen accepted her apology, but then Amara looked at Zaraya and offered her the last piece of her sandwich. Zaraya almost cried. That small gesture broke something inside her. Over the following weeks, Zaraya began volunteering at the community center where Kellen trained local children for free. She used her martial arts skills to teach discipline, while Kellen taught them something he considered even more important: strength was not about hurting people. It was about protecting them. Kellen eventually found steadier work through a veterans program, allowing him to spend more evenings with Amara. Zaraya continued competing, but her attitude changed. She stopped mocking beginners. She started mentoring young girls who lacked confidence. And whenever someone asked about the strongest opponent she had ever faced, she never mentioned a championship fighter. She always remembered the quiet father who defeated her without throwing a punch. Years later, Amara would remember that sunny afternoon not because her father had revealed he was a Navy SEAL, but because she had watched him choose compassion when he had every reason to choose pride. And perhaps that was the real victory. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your engagement helps these stories reach someone who may need a reminder that kindness, humility, and courage are still powerful. Special request: before you leave, comment "strength with kindness" if you believe true strength is protecting others instead of proving yourself better than them. Because sometimes the strongest person in the room is not the one who throws the hardest punch. Sometimes it is the person who has every reason to fight back, yet chooses kindness instead. And sometimes, behind the tired face of a struggling single parent, there is a hero carrying a lifetime of battles that nobody else can see.